These are all the problems that at this point with our exit ticket yesterday and now this warm up, we should have completed all these, are all of the questions that you see here, with I guess exception to F or 5, unless you picked 5 twice. How do percent show the relationship between quantities? Percent is like a fraction of a quantity. So a percent allows us to show either if it's above 100%, it shows a growth. If it's below 100%, we're seeing a decrease or a smaller amount relative to the original. So it's a comparison where I feel we can see a little bit easier as a percent than saying some unique fraction like, hey, you got 83 of 165 of the original. So really, that was almost close to a half. If I would have told you that you have 50% of the original or 51% of the original, we can kind of relate to that a little bit easier. So it's just like a common way for us to relate to something, knowing that 100 represents the original value. And that really kind of gets us to question number 2, reasoning. How does a value that is greater than 100 of the original value or less than 1% of the original value compared to the original value? So it's a two-part question. How a value greater than 100 is an increase. A value that is less than 1% of the original value. So the original value is 100%, less it by 1%, now we're at 99. Less it by more than that, we're at 98, 97%. So anything less than original means we're having, less than the whole. We're having a portion of it. Okay. Number 4, an 8-ounce serving of apples contains 8% of your daily vitamins. How many ounces of apples would you need to get 100% of your daily vitamins? I can see people kind of talking themselves out of what this answer is, but some we were talking about the other day is know your units. We're going to look at a proportion. We're going to look at, something that should be equal to each other. So I want you to set over here. We're going to put ounces over percent. Sorry, that was a bad percent. So then I take 8 ounces over 8%, and I want 100% over here. So what's this other value going to be? Hopefully you understand that this equals 1. And so we want this to also equal 1. So what number would that be? It would be 100. We need to have 100 ounces to get to 100%. And maybe you saw it right off the bat when you read it, but 8 ounces, 8%. So that means really every ounce of apples that we eat, we're getting a percent. So I need to eat 100 ounces to get 100%. I'm here. I really hope we did our calculations, but to turn a percent into a decimal that I can actually calculate, I need to move the decimal 1, 2. So this problem becomes 0.59 times 640. This problem here becomes 0.002 times 3,542. This becomes, move the decimal 2 spaces, it's 1.95 times 568. And here it becomes 0.74 times 920. So we weren't just supposed to write that out, we were also supposed to calculate that. So if you calculate those out, A ends up equaling 3,776. Sorry, 377.6. So almost half, a little bit more than half of the original. Our next answer, 20% or 0.20% of 3,542 becomes 7.084. So it's a very small amount. And we should think that this is less than 1% of that. So yeah, we should be thinking a small amount. This one is 11076. So we know that we're almost 200%, which would be like doubling this value. And we almost did double the value. So very close to that. And our last one is 680.8. Seems reasonable, only almost 3/4 or 75% of 920. So we know it should be a number less than